I'd like to call to order this regular council meeting of the town of Saugeen Shores. And the first order of business is a declaration of pecuniary interest. Again, I'll remind you of your responsibility. The next item is additions, deletions, or amendments, and we have nothing under that. And the fourth item then is adoption of minutes, and I have a motion that's been moved by Vice Deputy Mayor Huber, seconded by Councillor Grace. The council adopt the minutes of the council meeting of November the 28th, 2016 as presented. Any errors or omissions? All in favor then? That's carried. The next item is committee of the whole minutes of November the 28th, and it's been moved by Councillor Madison, seconded by Councillor Mike Myatt. Council note and file the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of November the 28th and the budget meeting minutes of December the 6th, 2016 as presented. Any errors or omissions? All in favor then? Carried. The next item is planning report of a committee of whole, and it's the planning and development report on November the 28th, and it's been moved by Councillor Mike Myatt, seconded by Councillor Matheson, that Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores adopts the planning and development report dated November the 28th, 2016, recommending that Council endorses the comments outlined in the Manager Development Services report dated November the 28th, 2016, with regard to the Ontario Municipal Board reform, and that the comments be forwarded to Huron Bruce MPP Lisa Thompson and the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Ministry of Attorney General prior to the conclusion of the consultation process. Questions or comments to it? All in favor then? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The next item on the agenda then is a striking committee report from December the 12th, and the main motion, and I'll read it, and we do have an amendment, I'll read it second. The main motion is that Council, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau, seconded by Councillor Rich, that Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores adopts a striking report dated December the 12th, 2016, recommending the committee appointments for the 2017-2018 term. And there's been a motion moved and seconded, and it's been moved by Councillor Minaj, seconded by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau, that to amend the striking committee report of December the 12th, 2016, to make the recommended appointment to the Westario Power effective at the 2017 Westario Power AGM Annual General Meeting.
Can you just clarify when that date is?
It's typically held in July, Mike. Maybe for clarity, we could put a date there. Say it's if it's in July, so make the appointment effective August the 1st, so that we know that there's a date and it's not moving around.
I think that's a fair motion, Mr. Mayor.
Would that be a friendly amendment so that we could say August the 1st to it?
Mr. Mayor, that's fine. The intent was that the person replacing the existing person would be able to attend that AGM. So
there's two invites always, and so to those AGMs, and typically the mayor and the deputy mayor or the CAA goes, so we can do that, yeah. So I will make that amendment here, so it says the Westario Power, to the Westario Power effective August the 1st, 2017. How's that? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Charbonneau.
I think you wanted, the intent is to have the new representative be able to attend as the municipal representative of the annual general meeting. So is that that intent preserved in that?
So no, I think that would not do it then. Oh, you mean the new appointment?
Yeah, attend the annual general meeting as the town's representative.
Okay. Recommend the appointment to the Westario Board effective. Oh. Okay. In time to attend, is that fine?
That's fine.
Yeah. As our delegate, or as our rep. So, effective at the 2017 Westario Board. Time, okay. Time. Annual general meeting. Be okay. Is that clear then? Okay then. I'll call it. Sure.
For clarification, the requirement for that position is to attend, I believe they have 4 board meetings per year. Is that correct? There was some talk of the amount of time that's required to fulfill that position, and excessive, or the burden it places on the incumbent. And my understanding is that there are 4 board meetings that take place per year, once per quarter. Is that correct?
Yeah, I know the next one's in April, so then the next one will be the annual general meeting in the fall, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Would we need to also then have something that extends the term of the current appointee until that date?
I don't think so. I think this deals with it. I think that this new appointment will take effect at the AGM. Time for the AGM. Okay, is everybody clear about that then? So it'll take effect at the AGM. Okay, to call the question on the amendment. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. The next then, the question back to the main motion. And I'm not going to read it again. I think everybody knows what it was. All in favor of that? And that's carried. So, the next item on the agenda is a staff. There is a staff report with it too, and I'll read the motion, and then if there's any questions, we'll direct them to you, Jane. It's been moved by Councillor Grace, seconded by Vice Deputy Mayor Huber. The Council approves option 4 of the Director of Community Services staff report dated December the 6th, 2016. That would remove ash trees located in Fairy Lake Park in Southampton to reduce the spread of the invasive species emerald ash borer and the risk to the public safety associated with dead trees and resulting falling timber, and that the removal of ash trees employ ecological sensitive harvesting practices and rehabilitation techniques to minimize impacts on the park's natural features, and that the tree planting be undertaken after the harvest to restore the disturbed areas to a natural forest, and that the Council approves immediately funding of $225,000 to undertake this work. Questions to it? Vice Deputy Mayor Huber.
Thank you. The comment about dialogue with interested neighbors, I understand a meeting happened on Friday, I believe, through you to the Director of Community Services. Just would appreciate a comment about that meeting, and also a sense of the rest of the proactive communication strategy. How will other people in the community be able to attend something? Do you have a plan for when some other information sessions will take place?
Yes, we met with adjacent landowners on Friday morning of this week, and a very proactive meeting. Many of them said we came with a different opinion in our mind and have since changed. They realized the importance of what needs to be done. We physically walked with them around Fairy Lake, and they were able to visualize. We pointed out what the issues were. Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority attended as well, and certainly gave their expert opinion through the process, so we appreciated that feedback. Councillor Grace also attended, and in the end, we all kind of regrouped afterwards and said what a positive meeting it was, and we even had conversations about what potentially could be done with some of the reclaimed wood afterwards. So it was a progressive meeting. As far as moving forward and opening it up to the public, that certainly is our intention. We're looking at about a January time that we'll open it up and continue those conversations until right through to the projects for the 150th, because they are both part and parcel of the process. Continued conversations with having a public information session. A museum has offered their facility, so we could have it there, and continued updates, bulletins to the public that they'll hear on a regular process of the process of moving this forward.
Thanks, Gene. I think it's worthwhile to say that members from the public can contact our staff at any time for questions or input on this particular or any topic, and we encourage that. So, Councillor Myatt.
Mr. Mayor, just through you to Jane. Jane, so $225,000. A lot of money, but it has to be done, obviously. When you talk about project management, we're undertaking with Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, Forestry Department, so I don't quite understand that part completely. Is this being tendered out, or I don't understand how that's working?
It will be tendered out by an arborist, but Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority will provide that project management scope for us. They'll go through that process. They'll also continue to work with us through the community consultation process.
I see. So the results of the tendering process will be coming back to council for approval, will it, or not?
It will be through a competitive process through Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority. It definitely will come back with who
Okay, if there's no further questions, then I'll call the question. All in favor of this? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The next item then is staff report. There is a staff report with it again, and I'll read the motion, and if there's any questions, we'll entertain them. It's to do with the extension of sheet piling work for the West Pier rehabilitation. It's been moved by Councillor Minaj, seconded by Vice Deputy Huber, that Council approves option 2 of the Director of Community Services staff report dated December the 12th, 2016, for the town's portion of the extension of the sheet piling project for the West Pier rehabilitation work at the Port Elgin Harbour. Questions, comments? Councillor Dave Mayam.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Jane, to you, is your report suggesting that if we don't ante up, that this area, which is prior to now cement, will be gravel?
If we proceed with this portion of the project and we decide that we, exactly like you said, there's no financial contribution from the town, the portion on the sidewalk will be left gravel until at such time the feds or we can afford to finish it.
Because I thought that when this project was undertaken that there was some understanding that at least it would be restored to the condition that it was found in.
The original scope of the project was indeed the entire West Pier wall and around the surface, around the service dock area. Through the tender process, which was a $1.4 million project, through the tender process, prices escalated further than they anticipated, and the scope of the work was reduced. Since that time, there's been some other projects with DFO that have not come to fruition, and therefore it has alleviated some additional funds that can be contributed to this portion of the project. However, those funds do not equate to the final completion of it being back into the original condition.
That's unfortunate.
Councillor Minaj. Look at you, Dan.
Thank you. Just for clarification, Mr. Mayor, so the $110,000 reserve money, that is taxpayers' money that we've put into reserves, or it came from some other source? And I'll ask a second question after that.
Future capital reserves would be, it'll be taxpayers' money, yeah.
Okay, so I'm asking if we could, I think it's a good news story that we would commit to this project and we would use those funds. And I'm asking that could we please keep a ledger of projects where we've worked with government agencies and used exclusive taxpayers' money to support the project for future reference.
Sure, we can do that. Vice Deputy Mayor Huber.
I had a question through you to Jane. Option 2, of course, is all about the wall and the concrete. Then, the comments at the end add on an additional $40,000 for electrical improvements. Are the electrical improvements most intended to support dock electrical work?
Correct, they are.
Okay, then my question becomes, why is this then being charged to the future capital reserves? Why is it not being charged to the harbor budget?
Currently, I can tell you that the harbor reserve does not have the funding source to finance this portion of the project.
Deputy Mayor Charbonneau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to follow up on the Vice Deputy Mayor's question. I think it's a legitimate question. Is there no way that, shouldn't we consider financing this through the future capital reserve with a charge back to the harbor budget on an annual basis, just like we've done with many harbor capital projects? It is, after all, a supposedly a standalone municipal enterprise, and these costs against that enterprise are should be included in our costs for operating it. It certainly doesn't qualify as a waterfront expense or some other expense. It's a harbor expense. I just maybe it's a better question, better directed to the CAO potentially, but I think it's a legitimate question. I mean, it probably should be dealt with going forward as a charge back to the harbor operating in over a period of years or whatever, however long it takes to pay back the reserve.
Thank you for the question. Through you, Mr. Mayor, staff can take a closer look at what the actual allocation of the electrical work is, and any that can be directly attributed to benefiting the harbor. We would put it as recommended.
Okay, so then I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any? That's carried. So the next item is bylaws, and the first motion is there is 5 bylaws on it, and the reason for that is we've had them before us at Committee of the Whole, and we're seeing them for the second time here. So I'll read the motion. It's been moved by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau, seconded by Councillor Rich, that the following resolution be approved for items 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, 8.4, 8.5, that bylaws 120, 2016, 121, 2016, 122, 2016, 123, 2016, and 124, 2016 are hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 12th day of December 2016. Any questions or comments to those bylaws or motions? Councillor Mike Myatt.
The question I had, Mr. Mayor, was number 1, authorized fees and charges, bylaw 3 to the director. I know Councillor Matheson in the past has raised a question about lowering fees pertaining to particularly off prime time ice and try and encourage new users. And I'm just wondering, with this approval of these fees and charges, will we, Jane, at some time, or will you be coming back with any kind of a report that stems from the results of the Recreation Master Plan, where they did the fees study at the end of the report, and as I say, Councillor Math has made some good points about addressing some of those fees, particularly for the non-prime time rates. Will you be coming back at a future date to talk about that?
I certainly can, and it's not just fees. It's coming up with strategies on how to get groups and organizations and individuals onto the ice during those. So it's certainly something that we as staff have been discussing on a regular basis and coming up with those strategies to accommodate that. Yes.
You'll be continuing to talk to the Recreation Advisory Committee and through staff. Okay.
Vice Deputy Mayor Huber.
Thank you. I'm scanning through here looking for the number. Just a quick question. In the tourist camp category, there's a second fridge charge. I think it's $56. I can't find it on as I'm scrolling
60,
through.
I believe.
Pardon, 60?
60.
Does that even cover the electricity costs for that second fridge?
I'd have to go back and take a look at that. And some of those second refrigerators are small, I'll call them bar fridges. Council identified a number of years ago that if a camper was to have a second fridge, that this is how we would accommodate that additional fees. I can't answer that question if it's covering that without.
Just we've heard so much about the escalating electricity costs, and we did a good job at getting rid of the old ones that were really seriously eating electricity. But often the second fridge is outside too, so it's probably eating a lot because it's in the sun or in an exposed area. But thank you for the comment.
Yeah, just to add to that, we do not permit them to be closed.
No further questions, and I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Back to 1. So the next item on the agenda is a bylaw 125-2016 to establish and appoint members of the Committee of Adjustment. It's been moved by Councillor Dave Mayat, seconded by Councillor Grace, that bylaw 125-2016, being a bylaw to appoint members to the Committee of Adjustment and Property Standards Committee, is hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 12th day of December 2016. Questions, comments? All in favor? That's carried. Opposed. Next item is a bylaw to amend the procedural bylaw. It's been moved by Councillor Rich and seconded by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau that bylaw 126-2016, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 63-2015, being the procedural bylaw of the Corporation of the Town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 12th day of December 2016. Questions or comments to the bylaw or motion? All in favor then? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Next item is a rezoning for Barry's Construction, and it's been moved by Vice Deputy Mayor Huber, seconded by Councillor Grace, that bylaw 127-2016, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 75-2016, being the comprehensive zoning bylaw for the town of Saugeen Shores by Barry's Construction and Insulation for lands described as Part Lot 46, Lake Range, being Part 5 of Reference Plan 3R-2020. Town of Saugeen Shores is hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 12th day of December 2016. Questions or comments? Councillor Manoy, Councillor Manoy, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So prior to the meeting, we had a difficult discussion about whether I should try to put an amendment through. My concern is that I didn't get to this Planning Advisory Committee, and even if I had, I wouldn't have had any voting right to say anything. And by the time I got the information on Thursday and was going through the package, my earliest opportunity to say anything was Monday, which I did. I tried to, and I got a reply from staff. And staff believe that they are working well with my particular concern. So what is my concern? My concern is I think it's conflagration of driveways and roadways and parking lots in the Northport School, Mary Street, Waterloo Street, the Waterloo Street extension. Waterloo is a collector road, and it's going to go right through the parking lot and the front driveway of Northport School. And we got a private road. I realize some of this is not part of this application, but some of it clearly is. How we connect Waterloo Street at this location is a serious concern for me and the residents in my ward. And I've spoken to people. And they want to know that it's not just about staff and a developer making the decisions. And albeit they are speaking with the Board of Education representative as well, I had hoped that we could put this particular corner in the community under the microscope and form some other kind of broader based committee, some evolution of how we do business, because I'm concerned that it will quickly become something we don't want it to become, or it won't be useful with all of these interconnecting roads and driveways. And we did, and I'll finish by saying, we did take a long, hard look at Saugeen Central School when we were doing some road improvements and some positioning of stop signs. And I'd like to know when, if I don't have that opportunity to speak to it now, and I can't affect change at any other time than now, and 3 readings are going through now, what am I to do?
I think the CA is going to talk about, but just for clarity, we're not talking about that issue now. This is just a simple rezoning of that piece of property, and I think the CA will address and give you an opportunity. Go ahead, David.
Thank you, Councillor, and through you to the Mayor. I may not be able to answer the questions as the Mayor suggested. The clerk may be able to, but your question, Councillor, is about when we'll have input. Responded to your request earlier today, indicating that we're well on meeting with the school boards and others. We'd be happy to meet with you at any time and bring you up to date on where we are with this project. We're happy to update all of council as well. The request tonight that we received just a minute or two before the meeting didn't allow us to give you the information I think that you were looking for. And the clerk want to add something to that.
Yes, thank you. Certainly this is at the zoning stage, so we still have to go through the plan of subdivision. So the subdivision agreement will have the engineering drawings for the intersection. The Northport School and the parking lot is, as you mentioned, outside the boundaries of this zoning bylaw, outside the boundaries of the subdivision. It's what we deem to be external works. It will be dealt with in the subdivision agreement. The Waterloo Street being the collector's road, definitely we'll have 1-foot reserves on those. Within the plan of subdivision, there will not be any entrances off of Waterloo Street. So I think the answer to your question is, as the project progresses through the engineering stages is when you'd have an opportunity as the council to make comment at that stage.
All I need to say is thank you.
Okay, thank you for your patience, Neil. Thanks. So, any further questions? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The next item then is assumption of works for Summerside Subdivision Phase 1, 3M228. It's been moved by Councillor Minot, seconded by Vice Deputy Mayor Huber, that bylaw 128-2016, being a bylaw for the assumption of works on plan of subdivision 3M228, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 12th day of December 2016. Questions or comments to the motion or bylaw? All in favor then? That's carried. Next item is assumption of Summerside Place in Highland Street, and it's been moved by Councillor Grace, seconded by Vice Deputy Mayor Huber, that bylaw 129-2016, being a bylaw to assume certain lands within the town of Saugeen Shores into the municipal road system as public highways for public use, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 12th day of December 2016. Any questions or comments? All in favor? It's carried. So the next one then is assumption, another assumption of 3M214. So it's been moved by Councillor Grace, seconded by Councillor Dave Mayette, that bylaw 130-216, being a bylaw for the assumption of works on plan of subdivision 3M-214, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 12th day of December 2016. Questions or comments? All in favor? It's carried. The next item then is a bylaw to assume certain lands in the town of Saugeen Shores, and it's been moved by Councillor Madison and seconded by Councillor Mike Myatt, the bylaw 131-2016, being a bylaw to assume certain lands within the town of Saugeen Shores into the municipal road system as a public highway for public use, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 12th day of December 2016. Any questions or comments? All in favor then? Opposed? That's carried. And the next item is to authorize an internet and telephone voting method and bylaw. So it's been moved by Councillor Mike Myatt, seconded by Councillor Don Madison, that bylaw 132-2016, being a bylaw to authorize the use of internet and telephone voting in the 2018 municipal and school board elections, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 12th day of December 2016. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And when we want. No. Next is the confirmatory bylaws moved by Councillor Rich and seconded by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau, that bylaw 133-2016, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 12th day of December 2016. All in favor? That's carried. And it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau, seconded by Councillor Rich, that this regular council meeting of December the 12th, 2016, hereby adjourned at 10:32 p.m. All in favor?